Hello, welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. We're at episode 787, which is probably some giant plane that doesn't fly very well. It's August 21, 2024. I'm Sebastian Peak.
And I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
There's nothing wrong with the 787. It's probably one of the best products Boeing has had in the past 30 years since they released the 777. But anyway, I'm Josh Walrath.
I have no opinion on this plane. I'm Brett Van Sprumberg.
And I'm Kent Burgess, and I don't fly.
Do you just drive?
You drive everywhere? Do you do the tunnel to England?
Wait, can you do that? Do they have a tunnel?
Yes.
I thought it was just like a cable under there.
No, the tunnel has been extended recently.
It's
a long drive, though.
Man.
Near your carbon monoxide.
Can you go as fast as you want? Is it like the Autobahn?
I was just trying to insert a comment there.
Okay.
I have not flown in quite a very long time, though.
Oh, all right.
I have nothing against it.
Hey, but you know what?
Nothing for it.
You can simulate flying, the euphoria of flight, by going to patreon.com/PCPer and get that rush that you just haven't felt since, that first time cruising at 32,000 feet. That high. I think is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, we're going to thank our patrons. iRescue Data,
who's found a way to game the system into a free sponsorship.
iRescue Data is a service, I think, and they've been doing the super chat thing. Now they've made it official.
Yeah.
Continued thanks to B. Schmidt and C. Schaff.
Yep, like to pull a few from the archives and just say, hey, thanks for being with us and staying with us. Appreciate the support.
We do appreciate it. And you know what you appreciate, viewer? Josh, talking about his lunch.
Well, I gotta look up what this is. So it was a momentous day today at the Born in the Barn. They had a new menu, and they have two new options on said menu. And today it sounded like the Cowboy Joe burger was the winner. And this is a double onion smashed patty, candied jalapenos, American cheese, hickory smoked bacon, and a house tangy mustard. It was super heavy. There were a lot of onions in there, and they're perfectly caramelized and smashed into the patty, and everything is just, it all worked nicely. The candied jalapenos were fantastic. Yeah. I mean, some people like American cheese. It is, a cheese-like product, but it's super melty and even that way. So, it does some good things. The fries were good. They're, again, rosemary salt. Mm-hmm. So they had a nice tang to them. Overall, it was a very filling lunch, and I am absolutely stuffed, and I couldn't eat all of my burger. There was, a sliver left, but I just couldn't do it. So next week, I think I'm gonna have to do the butter burger that they're offering. It's a burger smashed in garlic butter.
Nice.
It's gonna be.
I hope that one has the very same. I'd like to call I've disappeared. I'm gone now. It makes me sad in a way. Okay.
So long.
I'll talk from off screen. So my observation here was that the specular highlights of your photograph really lent a glistening sense. I really felt that it was
fresh,
sort of
that
yes.
It was off the grill.
It glistened.
Yes. Blame my S23 for those pictures.
Brett, are you saying it was RTX on?
Yeah, I felt a little RTX on. Nice. The highlights were more than speculative; they were specular.
I see. It's going to be one of those shows, is it?
Sure.
All right, let's move immediately into news and Ryzen 9000. It's not been all that exciting. You might even call it a little boring. It's not that much faster than last gen, but it takes a lot less power. It's very efficient. But everybody in our audience, it seems like, just wants to wait for X3D. You'd keep a 7800X3D rather than upgrade to Ryzen 9000, right? Wrong, because Ryzen 9000 X3D on AMD 800 series motherboards, they're coming. ASUS leaked it. They didn't mean to, I don't think. But if you looked in the code, there was Ryzen 9000 series X3D processors on the ASUS motherboard microsite via Mo_US on Twitter. This is via videocards.com. You know, when you inspect a page, as one does, to look at the HTML code, you can find references to X3D all over the place. So it's coming. I don't know what kind of advantage it'll have over the current X3D. If it's only like 5%, why upgrade? But, you know.
Because
I can only say thank you to those individuals who, when a new website comes up, the first thing they do is inspect it all for things that may stick out, because I don't.
Hey, you can't be a data miner and make a big name for yourself on Twitter without looking at HTML code on websites constantly.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is that they do. But, by the way, the whole thing about the performance not being that impressive compared to previous gen, because let's face it, we've been used to big, like 20% increases gen over gen from AMD, and now this is a very minor one. This is almost Intel-like with its smallness of performance improvement. But AMD, on their community site, their blog, this is just 4 hours ago, a new community update on the Ryzen 9000 series on gaming performance. And basically, reviewers are doing it wrong, according to AMD.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're holding it wrong. They're not holding it right.
Yes.
Holding it wrong.
So they understand that performance is a little different between their internal testing and what the reviewers are doing. And they have this bulleted list of why AMD generated gaming data differs from reviewer data. So they show a 9% average generational uplift in 1080p gaming versus Ryzen 7000 internally over at AMD.
Except for below where it says 5 to 8%.
Well, okay. An average
They contradict themselves in this as well.
Well,
you're really asking for too much here.
An average of 6% higher performance across more than 30 games when compared against the competition's best.
Oh.
I'm not sure what that means. I'm guessing that means an Intel that didn't have like silicon degradation or something. But they go on to acknowledge that not all reviews are seeing these results. And this reflects, I'm quoting, the complexity of high-performance PC testing today. So they say that there's these different factors creating differences in some Ryzen 9000 reviews. So they talk about the types of games being tested, using DDR5 6000 memory, using Windows VBS, which is enabled by default. I don't know who is going in and disabling that, because that's actually supposed to improve performance, I thought.
Remember the power setting for, what was it, not normalized, but
and then the big one, the new one that I've seen a lot, admin. You're not running an admin mode.
What?
That won't reflect the branch prediction code optimizations.
Yeah.
They just weren't present in the version of Windows reviewers used to test the 9000 series. So we're going to have a further update for users below. So
I didn't see any recommended settings for the Xbox game bar, in this, but okay.
Well, they already had a separate addendum to their reviewer's guide with game bar instructions. So
turn it all on, all of it.
They just want to thank the reviewer community for all their testing and their wasted time testing wrong, and the feedback that disagreed with AMD's internal testing, basically. So just go back through, look at the performance deltas you're supposed to be seeing according to their testing. And
we're not mad. We're just disappointed in you.
Oh.
Let's see. Cinebench 2024 single thread should be unchanged. Okay, check. Watch Dogs Legion, unchanged. Okay, at least they're admitting some of this. Like Hitman 3, you should see a 3% performance uplift. 7% in Cyberpunk.
3% feels almost like run-to-run variation noise.
Yes, it does. It really does. Okay,
that's me. That's me, though. I'm not a professional, CPU tester by any means.
You could be. You just do it a lot.
I don't need to be.
Hey,
practice makes perfect.
Yeah. So you can just disregard all the reviews that are out there if they aren't on specific updated clean installs of Windows and testing in a certain way. Josh, you'd like to cover our financial stuff on the podcast. Here's a story from Yahoo Finance via Bloomberg. AMD is going to buy ZT Systems in a $4.9 billion challenge to NVIDIA. How are they going to challenge NVIDIA? Is this data center like AI?
AI.
So ZT Systems is a group that kind of makes build-to-order racks for a lot of this high-performance computing. They have apparently about $10 billion in revenue a year, which is interesting because they're only buying for $4.9 billion with a stock transaction. But probably their margins are absolutely just paper thin. So it's kind of interesting in that, NVIDIA had the DGX systems that they have been selling for themselves. This is more like AMD wants to continue to support all of their other customers with, AMD entire racks and stacks. And they have about 1,000 engineers there at ZT, who that's all they do is they configure and design these high performance racks with machine learning, AI, all of that for customers like Amazon and Microsoft and whatnot. And so they thought that, because NVIDIA had such a large lead on kind of their own manufacturing. I mean, here's Jensen taking a DGX system out of the oven. Maybe Lisa wants to do that, except maybe she'll use one of those patio pizza stoves or,
yes, and have a reasonable amount of spatulas.
She'll go outside and she'll open up the smoker and there's the AMD analog.
I like it.
You never can tell. But yeah, they're out of New Jersey. It's kind of interesting. I mean, it's not a huge thing because, AMD is worth a lot of money right now. And so $4.9 billion in stock. It doesn't take a huge chunk out of them. But, remember years and years ago, they bought a little company called C-Micro for a lot of money. And it was more money to them back then because they weren't worth as much. And really, they just kind of slowed down and eventually stopped all operations at C-Micro. And they integrated some of their technology, and I believe the Freedom Fabric that C-Micro had developed for their large-scale data servers was eventually integrated into Infinity Fabric and extended upon. So that was, money well spent for AMD there, but the C-Micro, the company itself, is really, and their products are just absolutely no more. So I have no idea where this is going to go with AMD and ZT Systems, but hopefully it will be a little bit better than C-Micro transaction.
So the allure of the AI market was enough for them to really take it to NVIDIA, but high-end GPUs, no, we're not going to compete with that.
No, there's no money in it. Comparatively speaking.
No.
No, really. That's
There's no money in that.
We become a niche market to LLMs, essentially.
If you look
and
at what the
HPCs.
same wafer, you can sell the chips for a lot more. I'm not speaking very eloquently, but
Yeah, but their Instinct stuff are all, have to have advanced packaging because it's all multi-die on interposers. So, yeah, they're going to be a lot more expensive, but I don't think their margins are going to be quite as nice as NVIDIA's.
No. NVIDIA's got the whole ecosystem going, so it really helps.
Yeah. I mean, it's not saying that NVIDIA doesn't have interposers as well. I mean, they still have HBM memory and all of that and multiple stacks, and it's complex, but AMD's selling theirs for 2/3 the price, half the price.
NVIDIA's playing around with memory again.
Oh, no. What they're playing around with is naming something the same thing and then changing the specs under the hood of the name. That's very much
far worse than having a much small cache of just not quite the same memory.
Yes.
So, Kent, I'm sure as you do, you were probably scrolling through the NVIDIA GeForce site, and you read all the latest posts on there, like this one from yesterday about this, this hot new game, Black Myth Wukong, Star Wars Outlaws coming to, all this stuff, the new driver. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, like every dedicated blog post reader always does, right before all the disclaimers. Here we go. GeForce RTX 4070 with GDDR6. It gets 2 paragraphs. To improve supply and availability to meet strong demand, we're introducing the GeForce RTX 4070 with extra fast GDDR6 memory. All of the other specs remain the same. It offers similar performance in games and applications.
Similar.
I like how they said extra fast GDDR6.
Yes.
Is it clocked higher than most GDDR6?
I do not believe so. No, it's just
The highest level of just regular GDDR6,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
not GDDR6X.
no.
I think
No.
the problem is going to be, and I think we mentioned something about this last week when it was still a rumor, is that it's probably going to be hard to tell which version of the card you're buying unless you really know what you're looking for.
No, it's going to be impossible because according to video cards, not a single one of the ones that have been released so far specify what the memory is on the box.
Does it even give a bandwidth number or anything? I guess
If
that's too
you've-
technical.
Yes, because that's bad advertising because people
Right.
don't want numbers anymore. They want,
Well,
fancy, extra
okay,
fast.
give me
things.
the sweet graphics on the shrouds again then. If you're not going to give me specs, at least give me like, I don't know.
Sorry, can't do that either. How about white cards? We can do white cards now.
Plain
White,
white
okay.
plastic with
Yep.
white fans? Is that? No.
Yes. Yeah, we can do that.
Where are the
You want your-
women? Where are
You want
the
your favorite
weird
anime
girl
heroes.
video
No
cards?
waifu
Yes.
video cards anymore.
Okay.
Yes, or giant robots. You want all
So I guess if you look close enough, you can
Yes.
see it. If you go to their
Yes.
respective web pages, like this one for Gainward here, yes, it shows 480 gigabytes per second of
Yeah.
bandwidth, which indicates, there it is, GDDR6.
It's GDR. Yeah, but it's not on the cards box itself.
No.
So you have to look it up and determine whether or not you're getting
Really, they did
screwed.
this backwards. The 4070 should have come out with GDDR6 and been cheaper, and then later released the 4070X
But the
with
S,
faster memory.
the S,
Uh-huh.
bring out the S.
Like that
Why
this
are you
iPhone
not
talk.
employed by them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Guys,
Hey,
we need
Josh,
more product
that's the same
segmentation.
reason you aren't, because of tighten up your graphics.
Oh, see
Maybe.
what you did there.
That was perfect, but yet.
Yeah.
Wait, are you complimenting your own pun?
No, that was
You did.
Josh's.
No.
That wasn't mine.
Oh.
When I first saw this story, there was speculation that the price was going to be slightly lower. I haven't seen anything since then. So I don't know if that is in fact the case or if they're just rebranding. If the price is lower, that's one thing, but there should still be some kind of denotation that this is 6 and not 6X. Of course, most gamers, they don't care. They go into Best Buy and they buy a number that fits their price range. And
Yep.
the highest number that fits in their price range is what they buy.
That should have been the RTX 4069.
But Yeston, which is a Chinese GPU manufacturer, they still have plenty of waifu cards.
Oh, do they?
That's the important part of this story.
Oh, okay. Let's do
Okay.
some internet research immediately.
Sleuthing.
Yeah, but they're a lot more expensive for the waifu cards.
Hey, you get what you
Yeston?
pay for.
They're like 20% higher for each
Oh.
SKU. It's not good.
It's a lot to ask for.
It's all for those sweet graphics on the card.
And
or
isn't it
something.
mostly on the back plate? Because where else are they going to put this stuff? On the fans?
A little bit.
Super Sakura Sugar.
Oh, right, yeah.
So you can put all
So
the
that's a
graphics you
nice
want on the
design.
website. See, that's actually
Yeah,
pretty
I'm
clever.
questionable
the cat
about that one.
eyes.
It's like the
But-
580. That's the
No,
old
that's
580, I
good.
think.
They see it's on the back plate. They put
plate,
the girl
back
on the
plate.
back plate. It's just not the same. It depends on how you orient your build, I guess.
Yep.
if you know
Yeah,
what I
maybe
mean.
they're not 20% more expensive, but they are slightly more expensive.
Yes.
They are. I think it's because they don't actually have an official U.S. distribution and it's being brought over like through Newegg or one of Newegg's providers.
Here's some depressing news. Hopefully this will get worked around soon again. But that whole TPM bypass loophole Microsoft has apparently sealed it. This is being reported around the stories from Windows Central. 2 days ago, Microsoft seals TPM 2.0 loophole, once again preventing users from installing Windows 11 on unsupported devices.
Ish.
What is the reason why people are installing Windows 11 on unsupported devices? Because I'm kind of a fan of this, and that they're keeping older hardware going. Isn't that part of the point here?
Wait,
no, not from Microsoft.
The other way around.
All right. Lay it on me.
Yeah, I mean, people want to use older hardware and install Windows 11, but they're getting stopped by only one reason, and that's TPM support.
Yeah.
Because, Skylake processors have been around forever, but they haven't always had the FTPM or the regular TPM on the motherboard for.
Or they got 1.2 and not 2.0.
Yeah. And so, people who want to run the latest and greatest OS, I say that with tongue in cheek.
It's newer.
They can get around that by using Rufus and disabling that whole TPM thing requirement because it runs just the same with or without TPM.
Yeah.
So at a low level. So it makes
so in a way, Microsoft
I think a
is
lot of people are
contributing to
looking at the
electronic
end of
waste.
life. Well, yes,
What?
no, but I think a lot of people are looking at the end of life of Windows 10, so they want to be able to upgrade to Windows 11 as opposed to adding to the giant piles of electronic waste that Windows 11 has created. No, 100% with that on you.
Some would argue that it becomes electronic waste when you install Windows 11 on it. Some might say.
Well,
apparently the trick had been to call it a server to get around it, and now you can't do that.
No, but that was the easiest way. There is still an official registry edit you can do as you're doing the install and be able to still install Windows 11. But this was super easy, and you could bake it right into your image. So there was no interaction. It was just, boom, okay, Windows 11, away I go. Now you have to do the Shift F9, bring up a command window, bring up Reg Editor, edit two little strings, then be able to continue on, no problem. And I linked to that in the article. It's Microsoft's full walkthrough of it with the two caveats, of course. Don't edit your registry because horrible things will happen 100% of the time. And this is not going to get supported. And I'm like, yes, because most consumers, home users, are usually tossing $200-300 at Microsoft on a support ticket. So you can still do it. But there was a benefit to the same update that killed this.
Okay, is that what this is about? All right.
Another arbitrary limitation that Microsoft had been kept for a ridiculous amount of time was the fact that FAT32 volumes were capped at 32 gigabytes. Thing is that the largest number expressible in 32 bits is around 2 terabytes, and anyone who felt like formatting a FAT32 off of Windows 11 on a different operating system did not have that 32 gigabyte cap, and icing on the cake, plug that back into a Microsoft machine and it will still read that FAT32 that's 2 terabytes. It just won't let you format it that way. So with this new Windows Insider preview, you are able to do it through PowerShell or the format command. You can't do it through the GUI because it's Microsoft and
wait, I thought FAT32 limit was 128 gigs, not 32.
No. I think you can do an extended that'll do 128. And hey, I could be completely wrong on this, but I did poke around, and it was capping out there.
Jeremy was talking about the assigned 32-bit number, by the way, not an unsigned integer.
Yes.
Wanted to clarify that.
Yes, sorry. That is
just think back to the old IDE hard drives that had the little jumper setting to limit to 32 gig.
But regardless, if you did that, if you formatted FAT32 on Linux or Apple, it would happily do as up to almost 2 terabyte.
Yeah.
Or tebabyte, if you want to be.
That's not how you guys made your FAT32 systems on a Mac?
No, I went exFAT. It sort of worked.
Worked for me.
Hey, exFAT goes as big as you want to go.
Yep.
And it's cross-platform.
It is.
Okay. What is
Sierra
next?
Pole says you can't have negative space. Some manufacturers of USB sticks that are selling them for more than what they have on the actual chip as ability to store would disagree with you. You can have.
Yeah, you just start
negative space.
overwriting
Hey.
the other stuff.
Yes,
What?
it's a wraparound.
Ask any architect. There is such a thing as negative space.
Oh yeah,
Mm.
or an
Oh,
artist.
that's true too.
Negative
Yes.
space
Yeah,
is
an
a thing.
interior designer. That aspect of negative space.
Yeah.
It's a new generation of G-Sync because NVIDIA has this tight partnership with MediaTek. They're making a new chipset that will not require dedicated G-Sync modules. Though, I guess if it requires this chipset, isn't that still a hardware requirement? Anyway, NVIDIA has unveiled 3 new monitors, the story from videocards.com again, that make use of a new chip from MediaTek designed to deliver superior image quality, exceptional motion clarity. This sounds like copy and paste from the PR. Ultra low latency and highly accurate colors. Using the latest G-Sync technology known as G-Sync Pulsar.
Can I do the TLDR on this?
Yeah, please.
Basically,
once-
FreeSync 1.
NVIDIA's jealous.
Expensive. NVIDIA's jealous. We want this market back. People paying extras to have our module in their monitors just didn't seem like a way forward because there's so few of them that are actually being sold that way. We want to play at this table too, so we're going to remake our way of doing variable refresh. And while it is still going to be hardware based, it's still going to have all of this cool stuff in it, but we're no longer going to have to pump the price of the monitor for the module. So we're going to kind of step back from that.
And it's no longer to support our active 3D vision either.
Yes, that was so popular.
Yeah, it was. I think the G-Sync module was essentially just an FPGA that was attached to some memory. And it could do a lot of interesting things. And they expanded upon it because it's an FPGA. But those things were expensive. Another board in the monitor, would add another $100-$200 to the price.
We're squeezing pennies out of the designs in a lot of cases.
Yes.
Yeah, and so MediaTek, they have all these controllers, and they've been kind of at the forefront as well as helping out FreeSync and VRR stuff. They're an easy partner for NVIDIA to help them perhaps with the technology and to integrate a lot of that functionality into their own chips. So they don't have to have a big, expensive FPGA. You can just have an ASIC that handles a lot of that stuff and does good enough. Because G-Sync was released 10 years ago or so?
Seems
it's been a while.
We're floating.
Yeah.
It's been a while, yeah.
8-10 years.
Yeah, it's been a while. But it's nice that they're doing this because I think AMD and FreeSync and utilizing the VRR standards that they had implemented for mobile stuff for, energy conservation reasons and performance reasons and whatnot, because you weren't gaming on there and you didn't need to have with an LCD screen, you didn't need to have 60 hertz or higher. You could do it at 30 and people didn't notice too bad on mobile applications. But, they AMD, extended upon that and worked hard in software and worked with partners. And a couple of years back, you remember, NVIDIA also started to work with these other controller guys and had their own kind of version of G-Sync, which was, a cut down version. It wasn't their full, but, allowed to have, NVIDIA running VRR on non-true G-Sync hardware. So, this is great. And it's going to be good for your bottom line. And if you have an NVIDIA video card, then you will reap the benefits of G-Sync. And yes, as people had mentioned in the chat, I have this nice Samsung OLED that I bought, the 49-inch ultra wide, whatever the hell they call that, super ultra wide. I can't remember. Really ultra
Double
wide. Double. Yeah. That when I enabled G-Sync on it, which it's supposed to be, fully G-Sync compatible, it doesn't have a G-Sync unit, but it's that whole software aspect. I would get black screens all the time, playing games, 3D things. And I would even click on parts of my monitor to change windows, and the screen would go black. I'd get out the remote. I'd had to change the aspect ratio and change it back, so I'd reset it. It was a giant pain in the ass. Turned off G-Sync, and it's been perfect ever since. So Samsung's blaming NVIDIA. NVIDIA is blaming Samsung, but it's just, know who.
Same as it ever was.
Yeah.
Same as it ever was.
But LG doesn't seem to have that problem. I don't know.
AMD has a way of turning everybody else's dedicated hardware solution into a cross-platform software suite.
Yeah.
It may
Which
not
never
be
makes as
as
much money as it
performant.
should,
Using
but-
open standards.
Yes.
Often, or if they have built an engine or some standard themselves, they'll often build a reference library and release it as open source, which they've
Unless
done.
you're
a
on
couple
Linux,
times.
in which case, maybe not.
Well, they also have
They've
pulled
gotten
back on
better.
a few things, but they've done it often enough.
They've gotten better.
So Alan had an article on the original DIY
Alan?
G-Sync upgrade
Yes,
kit
yeah.
in January of 2014. So it's
Now I
been
looked it up.
11
G-Sync
years.
is 2011. It's been 11 years, which is crazy.
Wait, 2014 or 2013?
2013 is when it was
2014,
released.
January.
Yeah.
So
Al got his hands on it after it came out. 11 bloody years.
let's pause here for a word from our podcast sponsor this week.
Hey, let's go for a quick reality check here. Do your end users always, without any exceptions, do they always access your corporate data on only their company-owned devices? Are there apps they're operating approved by IT? And what identities are they even using? These paths that your people often use, those are their shortcuts to getting things done. Those often tend towards unmanaged devices, ad hoc apps, and likely a few non-employee derived identities. Most security tools fall short when addressing the problems with these situations, those shortcuts they're using. 1Password Extended Access Management is the first security solution that brings all these unmanaged devices, apps, and identities under your control. Every app becomes visible, devices are known and healthy, and most importantly, access credentials are strong and protected. 1Password Extended Access Management goes beyond what IAM and MDM tools typically do today by addressing the way people are actually working. Hey, remember those shortcuts? Get secure on every sign-in for every app on every device. Get Extended Access Management from 1Password. Learn more about it and check it out at onepassword.com/product/XAM. That's onepassword.com/product/XAM.
Next news story. This is something interesting. Lina Li, we've had the aquarium style case phenomenon that's just kind of swept the entire industry. Well, the Lina Li SUP01 front mount for your GPU. You heard that right. Don't put your radiator up there. Don't even have intake fans. Put your GPU up there so it gets as much fresh air as it possibly can.
This sounds
They haven't
crazy.
been in my office, have they?
Yeah.
There's no fresh air in there.
There's
No, I need a
fresh
good filter to stop the cat hair from getting in.
Well, it looks like it's a mesh front, so maybe that has
Or at
a
least
filter.
an accessible filter.
Mesh
which is
front,
clean.
back, and side, and top.
Yes.
Oh,
Everything is
very
mesh
nice.
except for the glass panel on the side there.
That looks pretty filtered for your, cat. This looks like
Yeah.
a speaker, honestly.
It kind of does.
Okay, let's look at a picture with the GPU installed in the front.
Now,
This is
see,
a
that's the
riveting
thing.
Riveting part for the audio.
They don't like
version.
to show it
Dang it, why? Did they not do it?
because there is something silly about it.
Oh, boy.
So there you go.
Why?
There's a GPU right there in the front,
Okay.
right? And so if you pop that mesh off, those fans are directly intaking fresh air,
Okay. Yeah.
exhausting towards the top. And they've got, I believe it's 3 120 or 140s on the top. So you
Yeah.
can pull the hot air out immediately. But the first thing I thought when I saw this is, and connectivity works how?
You mean
I mean,
like
this
for
is the
the
idea.
Very,
but-
very long PCI Express.
That is a
Yeah.
super long cable.
yeah,
That's got to be at
Oh, yeah,
PCI
so-
3.0 speeds.
that seems subject to EMI.
Yeah, it
Yes.
seems like it wouldn't work.
Well,
very
can you see it there? The card,
Oh,
And then it goes
yeah.
into the back.
and it goes behind,
Oh my gosh,
and it
but
comes
it's gotta-
around,
it's gotta
and it goes
twist and
out the
fold.
front.
It has to do a
Yes.
fold over, probably.
There's going to be
twice.
like no crosstalk whatsoever with that.
None at all.
And then
No,
the
it's fine.
12-volt high power has to kind of get out of the way really
which
quick
I'm
with the
sure will
side
be on a
panel.
perfectly
Says in all
acceptable
seriousness.
angle and not.
Hey, just get a
versus
cable mod
plane.
90-degree adapter, right?
Yes.
Because those are really
But-
reliable.
You're forgetting the third part.
What?
What if I need to swap from HDMI to DisplayPort?
Shut up.
Oh, is it Is there not
It's at the bottom, isn't it?
top?
Go back
Cables.
to the picture where you
Oh,
can see
no.
the back of the case.
Cables come out the bottom.
Oh no.
Oh yeah. And every single review, up to and including them showing off their the actual thing on the website from Lina Li, avoided this like the plague. It took a bit of searching to find it, but scroll up. Scroll up till you can see the back of the case.
Well, this is the side.
You see the cables going down through the bottom there?
No, wait a minute. Do they have like extension cables that? Oh,
No, you provide your own cables. So
Oh,
scroll
okay.
back
So
up till you can see the top.
I'm scrolling.
Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. One more. Click on that one with the see on the bottom left. That grommet sticking out.
Oh, that just looks like a regular power port.
That's your display. Wait.
No, keep going down. Keep going down a little bit.
Right.
There
That?
you go. That is where your cables come out of.
Okay.
Mhm.
Your
So
one
you string
cable.
them from the GPU
The one cable.
down underneath and out. Well, I mean, I suppose you could plug multiple ones in and have them hanging out the back of your case.
If they're like mini
Sure.
display port, maybe you could plug more than one in.
So I love the idea, but you really should have put some internals so that it comes out the back plate, not this sort of half-earth solution. There are those I'm sure that will love it, but no. I mean, between that riser cable being obnoxiously long and twisted, and the fact that you're providing your own extra long cable to route through your case and out the backside, I don't know. I think this could get better.
Seems gimmicky for saying we did it.
But the temps were brilliant.
Sacrifices were made.
Apparently, yeah.
Yes.
I've seen a couple of reviews, and the GPU temps are outstanding.
Yes.
When I reviewed the Falcon Northwest frag box, that GPU was a 4090, was right up against one of the perforated side panels, so it had great airflow. Plus, they used those slim 120 millimeter fans on the intakes, so the air was just being pumped into the GPU. So it was great. So I can see the advantage of doing it that way, but you kind of want to access the I/O backplate of your GPU.
Yeah, I mean,
Just put this in a rotated motherboard where you have the I/O on the top anyway,
Yeah.
and then you just move the GPU over a little bit with a shorter, more rational PCIe cable.
and some internal running, because if we can run a USB motherboard header to the back without requiring cables sticking out the back of your case, why can't you have done that?
Yes.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Who here has wood? Keyboards, of course. Wooden
sorry.
keyboards.
That's a
ACO
Patreon
does.
thing.
AKKO, the MU01, Mountain Seclusion, is a mechanical keyboard made of wood.
It's very outdoorsy.
Except for the
got a
keycaps, which are PBT.
Nice wood grain to it, though.
But the actual case itself, or the enclosure, whatever you want to call it, is walnut. So it's, kind of nice. It's got brass accents throughout it. It is, oddly enough, both wired and wireless. So it's got Bluetooth and a significantly sized battery on the inside of it. So you can carry it around with you because, we all know that walnut is very light. I do like the style of the keycaps. But the thing is, there's a whole bunch of RGBs in it, and you can't get more opaque than this keyboard. So you don't really see them very well. On the other hand, they're selling it for about $120, which honestly,
That's actually not
bad.
Yeah.
The switches themselves, again, I am sorry to share, are not wooden. They're linear mechanical switches that ACO makes. So
More importantly, the keycaps themselves are just plastic.
yeah, they're PVC.
This thing is begging to be sort of put together in a theme build, with
Yes.
another.
Yeah.
I think Fractal had a case with that was heavily grained and had some wood in it as well. I think Kent, maybe you might have reviewed one of those if I remember correctly.
The Fractal Terra, which is an ITX they released last year, had some walnut on the front. They've also had the North, which was an ATX, and they've got like a North XL.
Yeah, I think it was the North we were thinking
panels.
of. Yeah.
Yeah.
They do have another wood paneled ITX chassis coming. I might know someone who has one in their possession for review, that the embargo might release sometime next month.
Just sensing sort of a
We'll
get
just
back
have to
to
cut that
nature
part out.
theme on this. Yeah, cut that part out. They'll stop sending stuff. I sense a back to nature theme here in the whole wooden peripheral, wooden case, vibe.
And lest we forget the world's most expensive mouse from many, many years ago.
Wooden mouse.
Yes.
Well, the original
Some sort
one
of
was
rare
actually made out
teak.
of wood. The very first
Well,
one was made out of wood.
Yeah, I mean, it was carved.
Shall we listen to a
Carry on.
SoundCloud sample of what this keyboard sounds like?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's linear, so it sounds like a linear keyboard.
Yeah, well, it's got sort of a soft touch sound to it.
I hear the rains
You know,
down in
you could-
Africa.
You can just tell that you're smacking up against a stiff piece of wood there.
I should have boosted the volume on that, but
Yeah.
everybody was just talking over it anyway, so it doesn't matter. So yeah, that was
Okay, I
that
didn't
story.
hear a word. I wanted to
Yeah.
listen to the joy that was wood keycaps being
They
slammed
weren't even
down into-
wood. I
No.
appreciate that it's a
Those are not
nice
wood.
solid base and everything, but I mean,
Oh,
come on.
my.
It's plastic. ABS plastic.
Steak.
Okay, Sonos. It's failing.
Boo.
So what do you mean? What is it? How is it failing? Is it financially failing?
Yeah, actually, their sales are significantly down. Their latest software release, which is the app that most
Did
people
it kill the
used.
company? Was it that
Well,
bad?
it's
That
really
bad,
hurting
apparently.
them. This mobile app is really a piece of bleep this out. It's terrible. I don't actually have this, so I'm just going off based on what other people are saying about it. But apparently, it's no good whatsoever. Like I said, their sales are down. But I think the ultimate story here is, in my opinion, should you be trusting your audio libraries to a proprietary and backed system from any company, really? Almost no matter how big. Are we
Spoiler
renting
alert.
our things? Are we renting our things, or are we buying them? And are you trusting Sonos? I think they potentially are in trouble. Like I said, their sales are falling, and they've really got a black eye in this audio. This mobile app that they use to bring their entire ecosystem together. It has been badly received. I think is understating the how upset their user base is right now.
But it gets better.
Well, they've sort of the president of the company, in an unprecedented move, has come out and literally apologized to the user base and has said that, hey, you know what, we're going to look at maybe bringing back the previous version. But I think, as Jeremy's eager to point out,
Yeah, we
no.
can't. Sorry about that.
we can't. So this is very close to like breaking news as of the 21st. That they may want to bring this back, but no, you won't be seeing it. So Sonos is in a bit of trouble here.
I'm having trouble, going through the logic chain of no, we can't revert back to the previous version.
I'm not sure I'm
Unless they
following that
did
one
some
either.
very interesting things behind the scenes, which are no longer compatible with the old version.
Yeah, they may have changed some protocol things, or there's some. I'm wondering if it's not tied up in sort of a legal or ownership issue, between maybe they burned the previous, developer on this or whatever, and they pulled the rights. Who knows? I'm just making stuff up at this point. But there's so many reasons that could creep in that we wouldn't know about on the face of it to say, yeah, they can't just roll this back.
Fair. Yeah, let's just do it in production. It's fine.
Yeah. So they have no choice but to move forward with diminishing sales and a very, very upset current user base.
So if the whole point of Sonos was ease of use, because obviously there are ways to get better sound quality. There are ways to broadcast what you're probably just controlling from your phone, like if you have Spotify or YouTube Music or Apple Music or whatever. I know I'm weird. I'm one of these weird people who still has a dedicated pair of speakers in the living room. But they're just hooked up to a receiver that also switches all the TV sources, and my receiver lets me just cast to it.
I have the same
Crazy
setup.
how that works.
I
So it's
agree
like,
with you.
It's already on my phone, and I just choose the receiver as the thing that plays instead of a pair of headphones or something. And it
And
just
it's
plays.
like I have like 7 speakers instead of just 2.
Actually,
So-
I grabbed my Sirius XM app off my phone and cast it, to my receiver the same way.
And you know what? The thing I've noticed recently is that boomboxes have made a comeback. There's JBL has this series. There's the Boombox 3 is the latest one. It's not brand new or anything, but I just became aware of this stuff. Big boomboxes with handles on the top. They're a thing, and they just connect via Bluetooth. And they
And
sound
8 D-cell
actually
batteries.
pretty decent. They
More.
have rechargeable lithiums. My wife just got one. She wanted a portable speaker with some real bass, just to take with her, not just.
Is she all about the bass?
She's
Bass.
She is all about
bass.
the bass.
It's not even-
She's all about that bass.
100%. I've told the story before, but very briefly. When I met her, she had a Ford Windstar minivan with 2 JL 10-inch subs in the back and a makeshift enclosure wired with an orange extension cord for speaker cable. So
That's sweet.
all that she cared about was getting as much bass as possible.
Agreed.
So
That's wife material right there, as
I
you
know.
found out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sebastian, if I could be so bold as to say, I enjoy the family quipping and little
Thanks.
backstory.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Brett.
I endorse that.
Uh-huh. Anyway, she recently got one of these boom boxes, and it sounds really good. And you can there's a way to pair 2 of them so they become stereo speakers. I was just thinking to myself, and I have an Android phone, so I can use the higher
That's
quality, Bluetooth connection
Midstream. Yeah.
Yeah.
instead of just doing Bluetooth.
Yeah,
It's Bluetooth,
it's
but
a
the different codec. What is it called?
Bluetooth high quality.
It's not. Yeah, it's not. It's LDAC if it's from Sony, like aptX, HD.
Yeah.
Anyway,
aptX is the...
yeah.
DSP correction in these modern audio devices is getting really, really good because they're able to go, yeah, our speakers sound like crap, so let's equalize the digital signal to fix where it's weak, and they make these bad speakers
It's
sound
auto-tune.
pretty decent.
the Sony one
It's the
even has
auto-tune for speakers.
it even has room correction. So there's a mic system built into it. So it
Nice.
apparently, according to the app, analyzes the surroundings and any ambient sound and adjusts the audio frequencies to compensate.
It mentions AI in there, doesn't it?
It does not, or
I'm
we wouldn't have
shocked.
bought it.
Soon.
Yes. So anyway, the stuff is out there. It's easy to connect things to your phone, and most people are happy with Bluetooth. So why? Just get a pair of Bluetooth
Buy a
speakers,
Fozzy.
and don't worry about Sonos anymore. Yeah, LDAC is the highest bitrate Bluetooth. It's something like 900 on the high end kilobit per
And there's
second.
definitely earphones that are popular that receive at that volume. Yeah.
And I'm the weirdo who has. I may be the only person in America who does this. I have an Android phone, but I subscribe to Apple Music, and I use the
That is
Apple
weird.
Music app on my Android phone.
I didn't even know there was one.
There is one. I think dozens of people use it. You can see this is my home screen on my Android flip phone.
Yep.
But look at that Apple Music icon there.
Well, never.
Are you
die
sure
of an
that's a flip
anaphylactic
phone
shock
and not an iPhone 8 that just folds?
It's an unreleased Apple iPhone prototype
Exactly.
that Tim sent over for me to check out.
His phone folds.
And the reason I do that is because Apple Music, which I think costs me $11 a month, has full lossless for the whole library, and a lot of the music on there is high-res lossless.
They'll also
with
happily
headphones-
upconvert your own takes to
I
that
don't
high
know if
res
I don't know if it up converts, but anyway, I don't have
I
any
have-
compression
I have.
on any music I stream. So then when I do over Bluetooth or LDAC or something, it sounds better than it would if it was being losslessly compressed after lossless compression, because you can have psychoacoustic artifacting and weird stuff when you have like psychoacoustically.
That's what the
Compressed
CSP
music.
correction is for.
Harry
Was talking
Seldon?
about
Is
this.
that the Harry Seldon technology? Psychoacoustics?
Yeah,
don't
that's psychoacoustics.
Yeah. Sorry.
Are you trying to say that MQA was just bullshit?
100%. You can't
yes.
get better than
Yes.
lossless,
Yes,
Ken.
we are.
All MQA was copy protection. The industry desperately wanted to push DRM.
They didn't want to lose anything at the same time they didn't
because
want you to lose
remember sites
anything.
like HD Tracks, you could buy the masters, and the industry said, we don't want to do this. We're giving away the masters. So then they worked. I don't know who developed MQA with them, but it was like, hey, how about if we actually compress it, but then we'll do a little EQing to make it kind of sound sweeter, and we'll add DRM in for good measure.
Oh, yes.
So the people who
$1 million
Thank
idea.
you.
the reviews out there that talked about it's the nuances of the sound quality and blah blah blah. It's like, first of all, you're not going to get better than their master that they're actually using to create this MQA file, which I used to be able to buy. And then these music stores started to shut down, and then MQA popped up, which is weird. Anyway,
That circles back around to
And
who you can trust
MQA
the
is
library to.
is dying. So, as
Yeah.
a matter of fact, they just got bought. So,
Oh.
I'm happy they're dying.
well, I guess it won't be as important to look for that MQA symbol when you're buying your next DAC for your PC or whatever.
Aw.
But hey, physical media. So I'm just waiting for CDs to make a comeback. I was at Target today,
Weird, it might happen.
and I walked by an end cap. You know how Target always has records, like the latest Taylor Swift, whatever will be on the end cap. I walked by a back end cap that had random records all laying horizontally in piles. It's like, hey, it's like the 1980s again. Records
people
are
are
just
pawing
this,
through those?
this messy back end cap afterthought.
Mm-hmm.
Soon, CDs. People are going to discover them for the first time. Like this little disc, and it's lossless.
sounds
It's like
so good.
flawless sound with
Oh
no
my
crackles
gosh.
and pops. What?
The highs,
Ah.
the lows, so impressive.
The
dynamic
3
range.
decibels
Don't
of
mention the
dynamic
mids,
range
but-
from the way they're mastered.
Exactly.
But so
You
they'll
go
do the
from
same thing as
complete
records
silence?
did.
Yeah.
And they'll find a new way of pressing CDs and make them
Oh,
more
you better believe it.
impressive
And then like,
twice
and the way they trim the
cost.
edges, of course, will
Yes.
matter. And
chamfered.
Can I say the word
Yes.
chamfered? Oh, thank
Yes.
you, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I beat you to it.
exactly.
Yes, you did.
And then there'll be like CD audio on some other newer format.
Oh no!
And then they'll
have the
release
black-
these
the
special
black
gold
discs.
foil CDs
Oh,
with
yes.
cases that
Those are just
Now you're
rewritable.
talking, Josh.
will automatically
Those are
pop up the
rewritables.
CD for you.
Yeah.
Those
You're
are just
thinking.
or
Mobile
worms.
Fidelity had the 24 karat gold
Yep.
plated stuff. Audio Fidelity actually has. I have my Super Audio CD copy of the Blade Runner
you guys have any
soundtrack is on
black ones?
24 karat.
Do you guys have any black discs?
I say
actually
CD.
have
That was not cheap. Where
Speaking
were
of,
we?
Gold Records. Did you hear the story that the remaining members of the Beastie Boys broke last week?
no what?
Oh,
They were telling a story on Conan O'Brien's podcast where they were in a recording studio like 20 years ago, and they'd gotten their first gold record, and it was hanging on the wall in the studio. And Ad Rock was looking at it and realized that the album that it was supposed to be had 7 tracks on the one side, and the gold album there that had their label saying it was their record only had 4 tracks. So they, in Beastie Boys fashion, broke the glass open and played it, and it was some jazz album.
What?
It's a
So-
commemorative thing. They just slap a label on
people you're
whatever.
commemorating break it. Is that really a crime?
Getting back on track. From videocards.com, again, ARM reportedly developing a gaming GPU to compete with NVIDIA and Intel.
How about that?
Could it be true? I mean, ARM is the future, right? So all these Windows Plus Copilot PCs that are taking the industry by storm, maybe they'll have ARM. But once the exclusivity agreement is up and they don't have to have Qualcomm, Snapdragon, whatever in them,
The rumor here, I think, qualifies a little bit, and that it may not
okay.
be discrete. It may not be a discrete GPU.
Well, right. It would be
No,
part of a
It's
SoC.
it's 100
yeah,
hardware and software engineers working on this project. 100.
it's not. It's not.
That is not a
not just typical.
standalone. It's not a standalone gamer centric thing. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that. One, while ARM's 3D graphic stuff is pretty good, you would have to extend it far beyond what kind of their underlying interconnect low power technology that they've done for this would be able to do. Again, you got 100 engineers, both software and hardware, to try to bring this to market. And that tells you right away it's not going to be a major GPU on the retail side. It's just not that you can't slap something together like that and expect it to work with thousands and thousands of gaming titles on the Windows platform that some people are hoping that ARM would somehow address. That's just not going to happen. But with those kinds of numbers of people, I would expect a higher end graphics SKU for mobile stuff that would perform better than what is built into Snapdragon or a lot of the other handheld devices that ARM and their, I guess I can't remember what their specific name is. It's, it's not Molly anymore. It's something cutting edge. It's edgy. I can't remember. Immortalis. There you go. They're Immortalis products. So yeah, I would expect something larger and faster and more performance, but I don't foresee them getting into the discrete graphics marketplace anytime soon with those numbers.
But if you could string 12 of them together.
Even Zotac just... Oh, sorry, let me go the other way. Even Zotac just came out with their own gaming handheld. So everybody's breaking into
on AMD.
Market. Yeah. I mean, that's the way to go.
I missed that. Nifty.
But no, I mean, you could do what? Immortalis is something like 12 to 16 slices of their kind of graphics cores that you can put together. But there's only so far that you can go with that, just because scheduling and data transfer becomes problematic because again these buses are designed for very low power. I mean, we're talking half a watt to 2 watts. But if they're able to adjust things with the engineers and software and hardware guys, then yeah, it could be a much better product for these, low power laptops that are running Windows 11 that have battery life that goes up to 32 hours. That'd be fantastic.
Welcome to Insecurity Corner, your weekly reason to drink.
We're going to start off with a story about FlightAware. Who would have guessed that this useful free service was bad? Well, if you value user data.
Naughty.
It's been spilling it for years.
Yes. And the thing is that we all use the free version. So it's got your email address and a couple other things. But there are paid for tiers where you can find out the maintenance history of the aircraft that you're on, in which case they probably have, credit card numbers. But you can also sign up as a pilot and, help contribute to what's going on. And also, that's kind of your job. So chances are it's got your social security number, your planes which you own, and your current pilot status. And yes, FlightAware has been spilling this for years, unbeknownst to them. You would have gotten an email from them recently, within the last week, if you use it to say, you need to reset your password now for security reasons. They didn't really go into what those security reasons were, nor how horrific the actual problem is. Because, if literally anything you fed into FlightAware has been spilled for, 3 years, more or less, it's really not great. So up to you if you completely abandon them and just leave, because they haven't been very clear about how they're going to up their security and prevent this from happening again. But hey, if you want to continue to be able to use the app that'll give you better information on where your airplane is than your airline will, just maybe stop giving them money and extra information. Maybe make up a new email address and such to feed to them, just in case. Because this is pretty bad. Not as bad as the next story, though, because Sebastian is busy fixing something. But once again, thankfully, no one uses IPv6, so it's disabled on your system, right?
What?
Because it's not like Microsoft has had a string of horrific vulnerabilities exposed over their crappy implementation of IPv6. This
It's
one,
the first time that I've seen an underflow weakness causes a buffer overflow. Allowing for arbitrary code execution, of course, as typically the buffer overflows are wanton to do in this case. They're not going to pull the details on this one, so they're not going to spill the complete tea on how it's exploitable, other than that it's a zero-click exploit, as in, like, they just need to send a properly formatted packet. What I mean properly formatted? No, I mean improperly formatted. Yeah, an improperly formatted IPv6 packet set of traffic targeted at your device. If it's running Windows with this bug as intended, the way Microsoft released it, will cause this underflow situation, which then causes part of the payload they were sending you to become part of the program counter, and they're off to the races with an execution into whatever it is that is executing as probably like device driver privileges inside the Ring 0, operating system space. So yeah, they probably own you, after that. A little conjecture there.
So like I say, since no one uses IPv6, you've disabled it completely, right? Generally a good idea, because I mean, it's still, I believe, IPv4 doomsday, and we're about to run out of addresses still, possibly tomorrow, maybe earlier today.
I believe the statement is from Vista on. V6 enabled has been mandatory.
Oh, absolutely. But you can disable it, and you don't need it because we're still running IPv4.
But out of the box, I think a lot of people don't mess with their networking stack, so I think it's probably enabled.
Just disable IPv6. It's, unless you're using it for purpose, everyone is just sort of half-assed put it in there. There's a good bunch of websites that won't even support it, even though they should. And yeah, it's just a giant security nightmare hole for a lot of things. Oh, and your VPN will usually get mad at it too.
Hey, speaking of giant security holes, we buried the lead, of course. The top security story has got to be national public data. Because everyone's identity has now been compromised.
But it's in the name. It's national public data.
Right.
Hey, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I think the fair number is more than 270 million people, some of which are luckily deceased. Wait, did I say that wrong? Did I say that right? I'm not really sure. In the context of having their data leaked, maybe
in 2024, I think you're right.
Yeah, perhaps. So the punchline on this one is that this may have been a cell phone, and by that, what that means is that a sister company called recordscheck.net was hosting an archive file on their site that, when downloaded and extracted, actually contained a code base built by Pakistanis. Not that that matters one way or another, but they entirely have the code base for national public data, and recordscheck.net had within it sort of the installation default password setups for many of the users, including administrative staff. The assumption was they were admonished, of course, to go in and change that password. None of them, well, maybe some of them did, many did not. Unfortunately, some of them that had administrative privileges on the database never changed their password. So by publishing this archive, eventually having it discovered, downloaded, extracted, gone through, poured through. Default passwords were discovered that administrators never changed, and the exfil happened by people just walking basically straight in. Once they could get the proper connections going to either the database or the backend, they were able to use credentials as published by National Public Data themselves for the administrative rights to just exfil the data, all 270 plus million records.
Swordfish.
Yeah, some of them were actually, I think one of them was the owner or founder, one of the founders of the system itself. So those were one of the exploitable administrative rights passwords that were in the system. Sad, sad day. Human error. It will always be attributable to human error. Human error.
Is that the end of Insecurity Corner already?
It is. I mean,
do you
just
want
seemed like a
more?
launch
I've
pad.
got more. but
No.
You don't want it.
No.
So, just 3.
Everybody needs to have a identity monitoring service now, I guess. Just
Oh, by the way, if you are a
Does it
FlightAware
help?
paying customer, you now have, I believe it's 2 years of that. I forget which company it's with.
Since the NPD data breach basically exposed a lot of your personal data, including past addresses and relationships, you basically want to make sure that the 3 credit reporting agencies have a freeze on your credit report. And that is free at each one of them. Don't
Equifax
fall
for
into one of the places where it says, oh, I've got to pay for that. No, there is an option at each one of them to make sure that you can put a freeze on your report. And all that does is make sure that nobody can come along and open new lines of credit in your name. And that is probably something you should be doing. Because whoever's trying
fingerprints, but no, that's
whoever's trying to take advantage of your identity is probably going to move on to an easier target once they get blocked at that level. Unfortunately, true.
good to know. All right, let's move to gaming quick hits. And our first story is there's this Black Myth Wukong game going around. It seems to be about the most popular game ever, apparently.
it's a very popular benchmark, certainly.
Oh, okay. Thought there was over 1 million concurrent players in the last screenshot I saw, but
Like 2.1 was the max,
Oh,
which
wow.
is a lot.
that is a lot. So here we are at Rock Paper Shotgun. They say it's a refreshing adventure after Elden Ring's naughty DLC. Naughty, like having like knots, like not good.
Because there's a giant tree.
That too.
Anyway,
So yeah, it's a action
the triple
RPG,
entendre.
and it's a little bit hard to run without resolution scaling, and But look at this. If you can get it going, at least in still images,
It's pretty.
it looks really cinematic.
That's actually what they call their upper level graphics setting.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Cinematic.
There's high and then cinematic.
Beautiful. Does it go
Interesting.
24 frames per second, like real old-fashioned cinema?
Well, I don't know. Do you have like a 4090?
I do.
Nice
Well,
bokeh
then you're-
there as well.
Yes,
You're
very much.
you can probably do 4K upscaled.
Okay. I just
But
want to
the
hit
interesting
24.
thing about it that sort of twigs my interest is it says that it bridges between a nice exploratory but sort of linear RPG and a Souls-like. So it's not the pure Souls-like, get good or just screw off. It's a little bit easier than that, but at the same time, it's still the dodge because, this giant thing can kill you in one swat if you don't time it right. So I'm a little interested. I'm not a big fan of the Souls-likes. Like, I'm not as young as I used to be. The reflexes are not quite as good, and the patience is definitely not as good. It's like, no, this isn't fun. Goodbye. So it could be interesting to try out. You don't need to have read The Journey from the West, although it might help you try and figure some stuff out. Overall, it sounds solid, but it is definitely one of those games that is going to push your GPU. You can do
it is the
1080p
new
upscale.
crisis. We
Yes.
finally have a new crisis.
Nice.
I think you're right.
Finally.
It's UE5, and they have thrown everything at it. And but it runs pretty smooth. I mean, at least the benchmark does. I've got a 4070 Ti Super, and running it at it can't run at the full 51 something by 1440 that I have in the monitor, ultra wide.
Yeah.
It gives you the black edges, but still at 2560 by 1440. It's doing 60 frames per second. That's 75% upscaling and yeah, but that's the full ray tracing. Once you enable full ray tracing on AMD hardware, 7900 XDX is like 23.
That sounds cinematic to me, Josh.
No,
It's a
that's
different sort of
30.
cinema.
It's 24.3 something. I can't remember the exact.
I just thought it was 24. I don't know the decimals.
Yeah, no,
But-
it's all to do with the size of railway gauges, by the way.
Yes, which is the
Yeah.
pair of oxen next to each other.
Okay.
Jeremy
Yes, exactly. All right, moving on. The next news story, the next gaming quick hit story, Atari 7800 Plus retro console. The pre-orders just went live on Amazon. On the heels of last year's Atari 2600 Plus classic mini console.
I mean, this
How
ups
much-
the ante to, more advanced old school Atari
Right.
gaming.
For just $130.
Yeah, not a lot, and this still plays those 2600 cartridges. It is
Exactly.
backwards
So if you missed it
compatible.
on the 2600, don't worry. You got the 7600 or 7800 now.
Yes, Veneto, you
with
can
Crystal
still
Quest.
play 2600 games on this. So this is like kind of the Atari all-in-one retro console. And you can option this thing up with the gamepad and the networking and the obviously the
Wireless gamepad.
That's true. They do have that. It connects via HDMI, so they've modernized it, of course.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sebastian, not everything can be on channel 3.
Well, listen, you can buy actual carts on Amazon. So you can get
You can.
Ninja Golf, $30. Mr. Run and Jump,
Yeah.
$30. I'm looking at the prices of all this stuff. $130 for the mini console, $30 each for the games. Emulation is sounding really good right now.
Yes.
Anything.
I mean, I
can
love the price
emulate
of the actual console,
Atari.
but the price of those games, I'm sorry, what, $30?
Considering the
Yeah.
quality of the games. And no
You gotta be
offense to
kind of into
Atari
it.
hardcore fans.
Come on, Montezuma's
aficionados.
Revenge. That was the game to have with the 7800.
You can put every
It was.
Atari game ever made
And
onto one cheap
guess what?
thumb drive from the dollar store.
As the owner of an original Atari 5200, I feel discriminated against that there was not a new
You
version
should.
of that one.
Yeah. Oh, and there
No,
won't be.
we're not going to do that.
That was too advanced.
Worst game
Sorry.
controller that has ever existed.
Not going to happen.
Reproduce it digitally.
I'm not sure. Did you have what was the ColecoVision one? Those were terrible, I think.
Yes, they were
remember
they were
correctly.
bad, but
Yeah.
not that bad.
This actually looks so retro and cool though. Like they could totally
Yeah.
re-release this.
Yeah.
That thing was huge too.
Yep.
It was. I only had one friend out of all of my friends, which were 3 when I was growing up, that had
They
a
had the
5200. And they also had the Coleco, and the Coleco kept
Yeah.
breaking. They had to keep sending stuff back with the ColecoVision. It was not
No.
a good product at all.
Mm-hmm.
They had the 52. They probably had a Coleco too, and it was just the worst choices possible to make at the time.
All right. Final.
5200 the 5200 actually was great for games, but the controller was just so bad. I mean, a joystick that actually has no spring motion to it.
Yeah.
It has no
Turn it to
joy.
center.
Yes.
That was just
It's a
awful.
joystick
kind of,
with no joy.
Limp.
Yes.
The experience was unpleasant. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But it
Right,
really
well-
did offer arcade level graphics on your TV at home, which was just amazing at that time to me.
Yes. Graphics do matter
Oh,
a
North
lot.
Ranger, there it is.
Finally, in Gaming Quick Hits, Amazon's secret level video game TV series features Armored Core, D&D, and PlayStation.
Actually, it's more than that. It'll be like about 15 or so different.
Hey?
I don't know. That's just what this story
Anthology-derived-
from GameSpot says.
I'll scroll down a bit and you'll see a list of the episodes, all 15 of them. Scroll below that. There's a list right there. Even includes things like Pac-Man and Mega Man and The Outer Worlds, of course. We all remember how
Spelunky.
popular that was. And Unreal Tournament and Warhammer. But this is sort of interesting. It's gaming related, and it's from the same crew that made Love, Death, and Robots, if anybody's familiar with that. And the quality
Wait,
of
George
that particular
Darrowsey is in it?
series, the quality of that series, if anybody's ever watched it, is actually fairly high. So I'm hoping that I'm holding out hope that these video game derived, like they're one-offs, so it'll be one episode that's derived from that sort of IP and inside that space in that video game. So, you know, they don't have to put a whole series together to pull this one off. I think there's a good shot that these are going to be enjoyable, and for people who enjoy each one of these games or just enjoy the video game gestalt, as it were, kind of like the overarching, you know, stories about games. I think they might find this interesting. You know, and Amazon has a reasonable track record with pulling off IPs based on video game stuff, and the Love, Death, and Robots crew has been really good in the past.
All right. That almost sounded like a
We
pick of the
shall
week,
see.
but that can't be because that segment starts now. And Josh, as is tradition, you are first on the list.
Let me get my color figured out. I don't know if I've done this before, but doing it now. That if you've got the Thrustmaster T8, gosh darn it, why am I T818 base? You should get this wheel. It's a little pricey at $300. It's synthetic leather, but it's super solidly built. And you can turn it into the native version of the connection with the T818. It's been an outstanding wheel for my racing pleasure. All kinds of buttons, really great feedback, stickers you can put on, though the stickers are kind of silly in that, they just are different ways of numbering, which is dumb because, hey, I want this sticker to be my windshield wiper. Hey, I want this sticker to be pit lane limiter. No, it's just different stickers with different number styles on it. It's silly, but otherwise, if you've got this, one of these, and plus it has the attachment to do the older style quick release for Thrustmaster. It's a really nice rim to go along with all the others. So if you're invested in the Thrustmaster ecosystem, this is a very nice upgrade.
So speaketh Josh.
And Jeremy will now speaketh his pick.
Yes. If you are looking at building a budget system, the Ryzen 5 5600X is still a solid chunk of technology to base it off of if you're not doing a lot of heavy lifting. And to be honest, from, looking at Sebastian doing his CPU reviews, I mean, you're probably not playing at 640 by 480. But this deal up here in Canada is amazing. Sorry, a 5600X for $190. That is insanely cheap. That's
$59 US, isn't it?
And change. But yeah, it's a really good price. It's a ridiculous sale. It's, of course, we're doing the back to school deals now. But if you're looking at building a budget system for someone that surfs the web, does a little bit of gaming, and is interested in, How about if we save a bunch of money on the CPU and spend that on the GPU? Done. And it comes with a Ray Stealth. So boom, you are completely set. They do have a secondary deal if you actually do need processing power, which the vast majority of us don't. But again, it's a Ryzen 9 7900X for about the same discount, so it's down to $500. You're probably not going to need this, but if you do, again, pretty decent sale. Although it's that 5600X that I recommend. Do a build off of it for a parent, a friend, random person at that price.
Give us your neighbor, and they'll say, I don't want this. And they'll say, but the savings. You can pay me back later. Yeah. All right, Brett, your pick this week.
So earlier in the show, we talked about Sonos and kind of the lock-in and trusting your music library to perhaps the faceless conglomerates that large corporations tend to be, and how unfortunately they kind of maybe drop you or drop support or do something stupid and release unusable software. Move to perhaps an open source way of handling your libraries and distributing it to all of your environments, mobile and in the house that you're listening, or however you experience your library. Move to something that you can control. There's a couple of examples right here. One is Open Sound, which is a little bit more getting into the guts. They've got JSON payloads you can send back and forth to their server. So you can do some customizations if you feel like you want to be able to get into the guts of handling a library. They have interfaces as well, software that will interface with it directly, but they're fully open in how they expose that. One that's a little bit more polished is called SoundSync, and that's the next link. And this is listen to your music on every speaker in your home, get it synchronized. And if you scroll down, you'll see they've got a list of where they can be deployed, which is pretty much on everything: laptops, smartphones. They'll even start to control or help you control your Philips Hue. But it's available for like Raspberry Pi, Windows, Mac OS, variants of Linux. So there are alternatives out there. So my pick this week was just to say, hey, if you're locked into Sonos or you're looking and they're disappointed with where Sonos is going, look into the open source alternatives. Your options are probably there.
Proprietary is bad.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting from this.
Yeah.
Don't get locked in to an ecosystem because of the blue bubble. Wait, there's something else.
That's
Kent, your pick this week.
So staying on the topic of audio, I think most people a few years ago would say that if you told them that for under $200, they would be able to experience the best headphone experience they've ever heard, they would say, well, you're crazy. But thanks to China, these are the best audio experience
Aren't you sparkly?
I ever had. These are the Pula PA02 in-ear monitors. They are normally $189. There is a 30% coupon if you're not on Prime. If you are on Prime, these are selling for $137. You can select either a 3.5 millimeter cable connector or 4.4 millimeter balanced. They are one dynamic driver, 4 balanced armatures, 3D resin printed, and they are astounding. Just the bass, the detail, they are quite astounding in-ear monitors.
Did I see a 30% off discount on Amazon right now for those?
Yeah, if you're not on Prime, there's a 30% off 30% off coupon. If you are on Prime, you can get them directly for just $137 and some change.
That's about the same, but yeah.
What's feeding those IEMs, dare I ask? I'm sure you have the balanced version, right?
I'm not using the balanced right now. They use a standard 2-pin connector on them, so you can change cables, whatever. I have them both. I have a 4.4 millimeter balance connector. The ones I got when I got them, the 3.5 was quite a bit cheaper, so I got the 3.5.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm feeding these on the monitoring outlet on my Rode microphone, but I've listened to them on 3 different DACs that I own, an iFi IDSD, my topping D30 Pro, and Questyle M15, and they're just ridiculously good for that price. It's just shocking how good they are for that price.
Speaking of price, somebody in the chat said you can, if you're signed into Prime, or if you have Prime, you can still apply the coupon. So it's 30% off of 137. Is it
under $100?
I'm looking at this up right now. PA02. Yep, it's showing
Josh,
as 137.
I've enjoyed John
it is.
Scalzi, by the way.
It's 30% off of
You
137
away.
for balanced or regular 3.5. That's incredible.
Wow.
Thanks, China.
Coupon inception, as it's been
Chi-Fi is changing. Chi-Fi is changing the audio industry right now.
Just ask Jeremy with those tiny little 100 to 300 watt stereo amps that he uses.
Yeah,
Those Aussies,
he's actually liked some of them.
Yeah, they are quite impressive for what they do.
Mm-hmm. All right, and on that note, I think it's time to say goodbye for another
Sebastian,
week.
No pick for you.
No, I don't have anything.
Can't just nail something down real quick here.
No,
he wants to pick a blue tarp and some sticks, so he can create a rain shelter while camping.
You know, I thought about putting another tarp
Rope would be
over
a
the
good
top
idea too.
of the tent.
How
which
was
would have
the
been
camping experience?
Smart. It was wet. It was just rained the whole time.
Okay.
It was in the forecast, and then we went anyway, and then it rained, and then my wife wanted to leave early.
Everyone is
So
surprised.
less
Did you leave
bugs than
early?
normal.
Did you leave early though?
We did.
He did.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Left a day early. Anyway, that's going to do it for the PC Perspective podcast this week. We want to thank you for listening, watching, and we're going to do it again next week in all likelihood. So, yeah.
It's not a threat. That's a promise.
No, I feel like it is a threat. But if you don't like the show and feel threatened by us doing it again, why did you stay to the very end? If you don't like what we're talking about, why watch all the way through to the
hate
banter?
watching is a real thing.
Yes.
I guess so.
Yes.
I'm going to say
watching.
the thing Josh says again. But luckily, they don't have to wait long because it's usually right up front.
Are you asking to close out the show tonight?
No.
Okay.
Show's over now.